Hey guys, welcome back to the SRU Campus Rec YouTube channel. Name's Alex. For today's session, we're going to be doing hips, quads, and hamstring stretching. So, for the warm up, you notice I'm starting off with doing some lunges. That's just to help activate the quads and a bit of the glutes and hamstrings as well. So, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that your knee is tracking over top of your foot, as you kind of notice. And when you're also doing this, you're keeping a straighter back. That way you're not putting a lot of weight on the knee, which could cause some unnecessary stress. So for this, I'm just starting off with doing about 5 reps each leg, and then I'm just kind of focusing on technique. So, the next thing I'm going to do then is something called a hamstring scoop. So, for this, you notice you want to be sitting back, and as you're going down, you're kind of scooping back behind the hips, and then we're going to be kind of going down and past the knee, trying to almost do a similar hamstring stretch that you might do as a static, but in doing so, it's for just trying to stay mobile with this, just try and get some blood flowing to those muscles to better allow for the static stretching that we're going to do in a little bit to feel more impactful. So. Alright, so moving past the hamstring scoops, next thing we're going to do is we're going to do hip swings. In this case, I'm doing them forward and backwards, and you might also notice that at the start I'm using the table I have in front of me to kind of help with stability. When you're doing this, if you feel a bit unstable, having something to hang on to can be very useful, just so you can also make sure that you're taking your leg through the full range of motion. And you notice that when I'm doing this, I'm trying to bring the leg up as high as I can forwards, and then as high as I can backwards. I'm really trying to not swing the leg just willy-nilly, and it's more of a controlled movement, trying to open up the hip when I'm doing this. At the same time, you might engage a bit of the core to help with stability. So moving on from there, we're then going to go into a hip stretch of sorts to activate both the hips and the shoulders as well, also activating a bit of that posterior chain. So in doing so, you want to get down into that crab position, and then as you notice, I'm coming up, I'm pressing through with my glutes, trying to get into the table position, and as I'm doing it, I'm rotating at the hips, also to activate not only a bit of the shoulders, but also a bit of the obliques. So, doing so also when you're doing this, it helps with, it's going to help with activating a bit of the quads as well for those later stretches that we're going to do. So, making sure when we're doing this, we're trying to get up into that table position, and then if you want to, kind of holding out there for a few seconds and then return down to this crab. So from there then, what we're going to then go into next is the frog walk-in that you might have seen in my last video. You can go check that out. In that one we did hips and a low back. So in this one, I'm in that plank position, and then you notice that I'm bringing my foot, in this case my right leg, up to where my right arm is, my right hand, and then from there I'm kind of sitting down into this stretch. That's going to help with stretching out a bit of that the hip abductors, as well as a bit of the outside of the hip, and even a bit of the quads as well. So it's just a different angle. So, along with this though, you want to make sure that you want to be straightening out the back. You don't want to be kind of rounded as I am, kind of keeping everything straight and parallel. So again, for a lot of these warm-up stretches, what we're doing is 5 reps for each leg in this case. So now moving into the static stretching part of this, the first one I'm doing is just a standing quad stretch. So in this case, I'm going to start off with my left leg, and I'm just pulling it up with my left arm, trying to get the heel to touch my butt. Along with this, though, if you need to, you might notice in a little bit, I grab onto the wall or the desk. That can also help with just general stability, if it might be a bit more difficult to do this just standing. So from here, I'm just holding these stretches for about 30 seconds. And along with that, though, with a lot of these static stretches that we're going to be doing here, it's making sure that we're breathing out with a slow inhale through the nose and then a slow, deep exhale through the mouth with the hopes of getting a bit deeper into that stretch. Again, with a lot of these stretches, we're just holding them to the point of mild discomfort. And if you're possibly start feeling any pain, you might want to lessen back on the amount of pulling that you're doing, because that can cause some damage in the tendons and ligaments, and we want to try and avoid that. So this next one I'm doing, again, is going to be targeting the quad. It's a kneeling quad stretch. So you notice I'm in the lunge position, my left leg is down, my right leg is forward, and I'm leaning forward. In this case, my knee is going to be tracking over my foot. It's going to be even a bit in front of the toes. So this is just a better angle now. And when you're doing this, is you want to be pressing forward with the hips, kind of driving them forward, but also keeping that back leg down and pressed down into the floor. In doing so, you're going to feel it right along that leg that's down on the inside of that hip, and on that bent leg, you're going to feel it into those quads. So again, with a lot of these, we're just holding it for 30 seconds. Again, trying to get as deep as we can into that stretch. And when we kind of get to that position, so we're going to hold it for about 30 seconds. So alright, moving on from the kneeling quad stretch, what we're then going into is a kneeling hamstring stretch. So with this one, again, I'm going to start off with my left leg down, and I'm going to be reaching forward, trying to touch my toes of my right foot. So in doing so, you might notice that I'm hanging onto the desk. It might feel a bit intense to start off with. I was definitely feeling it in my calves a lot, which you'll also experience, but it'll also get right into that hamstrings as well, even a bit into the glutes. So we're just trying to reach as far down as we can, trying to see if we can touch our toes, making sure also that we're not twisting when we're trying to reach down, just to try and get more distance. So again, we're going to be switching legs now. And again, with this also, you want to make sure that your toe is pointed upwards and that fully extended out leg is, in this case, completely locked out, trying to get as much of a stretch as we can on that hamstring. And if you need to also, you might notice I go from just trying to reach with one arm rather, to both my arms on my leg. This can help with generally making sure you're not twisting as much and you're keeping everything in line. So from here then, what we go into is a sprinter hamstring stretch. So you notice that in this case, my right leg is back kind of in a 45-degree angle. My left leg is fully extended out, and I'm reaching forward, in this case with my right arm, trying to touch my toes. Now, when you'll feel this, that fully extended leg, you'll definitely feel it along the hamstring and calves, and with that 45-degree bent leg, you might even begin to feel it in those inner hip flexors. So Again, we're holding this for about 30 seconds, then we're going to be switching legs. So, getting ready, and then just reaching forward. Also, if you need to, you can have your hand down just to kind of support yourself. Ideally, you want to be a bit more upright when you're trying to touch your toes. However, I'm not very flexible at the moment, so I kind of was in this more of a 45-degree angle. So. Alright, so moving on, we're next going to be targeting is the inside hips. So this is just a traditional butterfly. We're going to have our feet placed together, kind of pushing our heels together, and then the legs are going to be kind of pressing downwards with the aid of the arms, trying to see if we can get our hips or legs to completely be lying against the ground. So when we're doing this, that you want to make sure that you're, again, focusing on your breathing, slow inhale for a few seconds, and then a deep, slow exhale through the mouth, and trying to get a bit deeper into that stretch if we can. Along with this, we then want to then go into our last stretch of the day. In this case, it's going to be a lying down figure four. So you notice in this case, I'm bringing my left leg up, and my ankle is going to be resting along my right leg right above the knee. Then I'm going to be reaching forward between my legs, and I'm going to be grabbing, in this case, the shins. If you need to for this, interlocking your hands can definitely help with making sure that the stretch kind of stays in, and then from there I'm kind of rocking back, trying to lay completely flat against the ground. Now, if that is too difficult, you can kind of stay up in this kind of cradled position, and then over time through the stretching, as you can then try and then get your shoulder blades to be leaning back against the ground, and also your neck to be fully supported and neutral on the ground. So again, with these stretches, we're holding them for about 30 seconds each leg, and if you need to also, you can hold them for longer, or you can even do multiple sets of these. So in this case, I'm just doing one set for 30 seconds each side. From this one, I now have my right leg over my left knee, and then I'm reaching between my legs, and then I'm kind of rocking back, trying to see if I can get my shoulders back to lay against the ground, and then really feeling it along the glutes and outside of the hips. Along with that done, you might also feel a little bit in that quads of that bent knee. So thanks for watching. Leave any comments below, and see you next time.